Thank you, Dr. Kit Siang and Rabika, friends, fellow Malaysians. 华语跟谈啊，华语跟英文啊。This dialogue is the result of a statement that I issued over the Kangkong flash mob organized by the Assemblyman for Macam Bubo, Lee Kai Lun, protest against the price hikes. And I suggested that he should consider apologizing, not for the protest against the price hikes, but for the stuffing of the kangkong in the mouth of the effigy of the Prime Minister, Najib. It is something, of course, I think it's a very a grey area. There are some who felt my immediate reaction was it's a bit excessive, it's a bit insensitive, especially as there are people who want to distort and twist the whole thing into a racial thing, which they did apparently. Very clearly after that, they say it is an attack on the Malays. The Chinese don't respect the Malay Prime Minister, which is of course utter rubbish, because Najib should not be a Malay Prime Minister. He should be a Prime Minister for all Malaysians. So the question of a Malay Prime Minister being attacked doesn't arise. The Prime Minister being attacked, yes. And in any event, the Kangkong tsunami, for the last 2 weeks, the whole country has been taken by storm by the Kangkong crisis. You have sketches, you have comedies, you have the jokes, you have Kangkong Kangkong bacaan, and yesterday I was about to Pahad, but there was a Kangkong Pau. And I tried the Kangkong Pau. And of course you have these videos. There are 3 videos on the YouTube. The first one was a remix one, which is already over 800,000 hits. Imagine who can produce a YouTube with over 800,000 hits. And then there was another one about the Kangkong song and all that. It is over 500,000 hits. And then the effing show by Ezra Said. That has become the #1 item with over 100,000 hits. Altogether, more than 1.5 million hits. And it is still raging away. Why is it so? Why is it the Kangkong storm can take the country in that fashion? Of course, it's not just a question of the Prime Minister's response using Kangkong, which shows that he's indifferent and even arrogant. But I think it shows a deeper malaise. Kangkong in Chinese is Kong Xin Chai, empty, empty inside, Kong Xin Chai. And you seem to have in danger to have a Kangkong Prime Minister, which is empty inside, outside looks very beautiful, One Malaysia, blah blah blah, government transformation program and all that, and a Kangkong coalition. So it is basically an accumulation of public grievances against the present government of the day. And Kai Lun is right to be able to lead in the articulation of these grievances, but I'm of the view that as a plural society, multicultural, multiracial, multilinguistic, multi-religious, there are certain boundaries we should try to avoid crossing. We should try to be civil, act with decorum, and stuffing Kangkong to the mouth of the Prime Minister, I think arguable. To some, there's nothing wrong. To others, they felt it is a bit highly disrespectful. And that was why I suggested that Kai Lun should consider apologizing. I never said he must apologize. And that's what some netizens went to. I was attacked as a traitor, as sold out the rights and interests of the people, and in calling for Kai Lun to apologize. I never did that. I never called on Kai Lun to apologize to the thugs and the gangsters in UMNO Penang who organized a demonstration about May 13, threatening May 13. I mean, we must not bow down to them. And I think it's important that these things be understood. And of course here is we can have a cross section of the views. That I think Malaysia kini carry some cross section of the views between those pros and the cons. I'll talk about the cons . But the point also is, will UMNO leaders rein in their followers in the provocative and violent protest against Lee? I doubt so. So again, we see the racket being browbeaten with into submission. I agree, that the UMNO leaders cannot rein in their followers in the provocative and violent protest against Lee. But I don't agree that, therefore, it is an example that racket being browbeaten into submission. It is not. I will say that if Khairul apologized, it will strengthen his hand to continue with the protest against price hikes. It will show that it is on the previous grievances on price hikes that is zeroing in, not allowing anybody, a small group of reckless and irresponsible people who want to incite racial and religious hatred, tension and conflict. I call them traitors. These are the traitors to the country who want Malaysia to go down in flames. You don't fall into their traps. There's another comment. What Premier Abdul Razak deserve what he got, that maybe. So I don't disagree with that. Look at him. He's not fit to be a leader. He has broken all his promises. Don't apologize. Keep quiet like Najib is doing. Well, I think there's room for disagreement whether that's so. Kit Siang has lost his mind. I hope I've not lost my mind. Apologizing will be interpreted by the ignorant and the UMNO goons as admission of wrongdoing. I think we make it very clear, it is not an admission of wrongdoing. It's only about we observe certain bounds of decency in our protest. As far as the protest against price hikes continues, an accountable government will continues. And as I said, it strengthens whether it be Khairul or all those who want to continue with such protests. And then there's this Please wants to start apologizing to placate the ultra-racist. You have to keep apologizing for eternity, which can't be good if the idea is to create a new Malaysia purge of UMNO toxins. I don't agree that we should placate the ultra-racist. And I don't agree that you apologize if you feel that you have transgressed certain boundaries. You are therefore starting on a road of eternal apology. So it doesn't follow. UMNO has forfeited the right to ask for any apology when they have carried out acts that were many times more offensive and even criminal with complete immunity. Not once, but many times. I agree. But that does not mean that we should not apologize for what we think is we have crossed boundaries. I agree with this. So even if UMNO doesn't want to apologize, it doesn't mean that we should not apologize if we think that there are grounds for doing so. Never submit to an intimidation of violent mobs. It is they who must legally be punished and apologize. Again, I agree there should be a legal punishment. I'll come to that afterwards. So these are... What about... Where was it stated that the protest against the PM was a protest against the BNA? Yes. It's perversion. It's untrue. It's incorrect. It's a distortion. But that does not mean that we should cross the boundaries. What about the leader in Penang who presented Chief Minister Lim Kit Siang with feces-shaped cakes and another UMNO wannabe leader who stomped on the CM's picture? Do they need to apologize too? It's always the non-Malays who can be trampled on. Why? Well, I think they should apologize. They should apologize to Ambika for that part dance. But that's a separate issue altogether. I mean, but if we can take a high ground, and what I was hoping is we can start a virtuous circle. Not a vicious circle, a virtuous circle where all leaders, whether Barisan Nasional or Pakatan Rakyat, conduct themselves in a manner whereby we are extraordinarily sensitive to the multiracial, to the different sensitivities of different people. Because I think, why? Why is it so? Because there are people who want to create trouble in the country. There are people who want to create another May 13. The very fact that on Saturday, previous Saturday, there was this banner saying that whether the DAP wants to have another May 13. That's like what the Chinese saying, thief, shout thief. They want to have that situation and then they put it in as if it is somebody else who wants to create it. If you don't want a May 13, you don't talk about May 13. So clearly there are people who have been out who are consistently trying to escalate racial and religious tensions in order to destabilize the country, create a May 13. The government can come, clamp down, and they think that is the only way for them to achieve their political ends. Of course, we can take this attitude. All right, there are people who want to try to May 13. We can take this attitude. So what? You dare to do it? Let's have May 13 now. Or you can even argue, oh, 69. It will be different from 69. There will be Malays who also suffer because of their property, their hardship. Yes, I agree. But for people who want to create another May 13, they're not bothered about this. They're not bothered about this. In fact, they'll welcome this so that they can continue to agitate and escalate. We'll be falling into their trap. Exactly, that's what they want. So I think we are in very dangerous times, as seen by what happened in the last few days. And this thing didn't happen last few days. It happened several months already. It happened before the general elections, when I went to Galapata and contested. Mahathir said that I was there to create confrontation between the Malays and Chinese. That if Lim Kit Siang wins in Galapata, it will be the Chinese rejecting a power sharing formula with the Malays. That the Chinese want to take over, exert economic and political dominance, which is a bag of lies. There's no such thing. I won in Galapata. Is there confrontation between the Chinese and the Malays? Is the Chinese grabbing the ensuring economic and political dominance? We are in Pakatan Rakyat. We are in Pakatan Rakyat. DAP, PAS, and BKR. It's a formula of power sharing, different from power sharing of a BN. BN is not power sharing. BN is everybody succumbing to the what Mariam Mokhtar has coined very correctly, UMNO Baru Putras. UMNO Baru Putras. Mariam, the columnist. That's correct. So it is for MCA, Gerakan, everybody have to just give way. There's even talk that in the Kajang by-election that is going to be held, UMNO may want to put in a candidate. UMNO may want to put in a candidate because they don't think MCA has got a chance. Well, we'll see. But whatever it is, it shows that there's no question, it's not a real power sharing. Barisan Pakatan Rakyat is a true power sharing, and Malay political power will not be in any way undermined or support if Pakatan Rakyat comes into power in Putrajaya or in any other states. So those are lies. In fact, I would say that Mahathir is eminence degrees. He's one of those who have been agitating and responsible for this racial and religious polarization. And he is a cause of instability for the country. That is a separate issue. Today you read about in the Malaysia Insider, I think, there was a talk that Pakistani website saying that Malaysia is no more safe. No more safe, no more peaceful. What happened? Why? It's because what happened in the last few months. We have a Prime Minister saying that calling on the people in Penang to be calm, and because of what happened in the last few days, the Molotov cocktails, where's the PM's thing? Yeah, Najib calls for calm after Penang church attack. Very good. He calls for calm. Well, what did he do? What did the police do? What did IGP do for the last few months to allow this group of racial and religious traitors of the country to continue to incite racial and religious feelings? Remember, three years ago, they talked about the AP wants to create a Christian Malaysia. That's all part of the pattern. To incite feelings, to create animosity, to create hate. And during the Penang UMNO assembly, there was this flyer jom sertai himpunan menentang penghinaan terhadap PM, pantang ajal sebelum maut. Bangkitlah anak Melayu, bangkitlah bapa Melayu, bangkitlah ibu Melayu. Daulat rajamu dihina, bangsamu dihalau, Islammu dicabar. Begitulah hinakah bangsa siapa mu tanpa tanah Melayu. Tak akan hilang Melayu di dunia bangkit. This is excitement. If the DAP or anybody in the Pakatan Rakyat does any of these things, I think we have already wanted to be guests of His Majesty's government for a long period. But why is this being allowed? You all remember the New Year's Eve turun gathering. IGP 2 weeks before New Year's Eve came out with a statement saying that there is a conspiracy in order to topple the government on New Year's Eve di Tataran Merdeka. After fairy tales, up to now, no proof, no evidence. Same thing with Bersih 3. Oh, how to topple the government, no proof, no evidence. But on this thing, when there is systematic agitation, incitement of racial and religious feeling, IGP, not a word. I want to ask, is IGP sleeping? Time for IGP to wake up and protect and to save Malaysia from the traitors who want to destroy Malaysia. For once, May 13, I'm sure the majority of, overwhelming majority of Malaysians don't want May 13. Whether the DAP, PKR passed, I believe the overwhelming majority of decent Malaysians in Barisan Nasional also don't want May 13. Whether in UMNO, MCA, Gerakan or MIC. It is a small group of people who are systematically creating the conditions. But the leadership is allowing this to take place. How do you respond? I think that's the most important thing of tonight's gathering. How do you respond? Do you respond by saying that, ignoring it? Or we respond by taking it as a challenge? Alright, you want May 13, we have May 13. Which, as I said before, into the threat of these people. It's very good to be a heroes. But if we're into that threat, I think if tonight's gathering is going to be useful, maybe we can reach a consensus that Malaysians, patriotic Malaysians, must differentiate themselves from the traitors of Malaysia. There are traitors, those, I would say, we name them. Those who want to incite racial and religious hatred, conflict, tension, they are traitors, Malaysia. And if Mahathir falls into that category, I call him a traitor of Malaysia. Let the patriots separate themselves from the traitors, and there should be active citizen group to try to save Malaysia. We are talking about saving Malaysia. As patriots, we want to save this Malaysia. Nobody wants May 13. We don't want any trouble. But we need to save this Malaysia. We should not allow this thing to continue. And that's why I appreciate the guys here and others who have rang me up to express their concern. Things are developing in a very serious way, and something must be done. We can't keep quiet. And so I think we are here from Ambiga. Thank you.
Thank you, Saudara Kit Siang. Our IGP still sleeping, sending the police to check the price tag in the market. That's why a lot of things happen. So for young generation, actually May 13 is a bit strange to us. But after we have Bersih 2, we have 9 July. Bersih 3, we have 28 April. That's why tonight we have our Dato' Ambiga here. Let's welcome Dato' Ambiga to share a win.
Good evening, everyone, and first, a very happy Chinese New Year to everyone, actually, because even I look forward to celebrating every festival in this country. I feel in a festive mood. Now, so why does the IGP remain silent? Why does the Prime Minister remain silent? And I'll come to what he said a little later on. In my view, they choose to remain silent. It's a choice. It's not that they can't act, they don't want to act. That's my reading of the situation. Because it's not for you and me, right, to go and stop people who incite racial differences and cause disharmony. It is for those who are in power. They have the power to stop it. The Prime Minister has the power to stop it. The IGP has the power to stop it. So I can only surmise that if they don't do it, they are actually choosing not to do it. So, in my book, you are either complicit by taking part, or you by commission, or you are complicit by omission. And I say that they, the leaders, are complicit in these tactics to divide the nation. They are complicit in it by omission. Now, it's all very well for the Prime Minister to now come out after months and months of the building up of the tensions between the Christians and the Muslims, to come out now and say, remain calm. To me, that's not enough. To me, he should be saying, we will take action. The next person we see inciting in this manner, we will face the full force of the law. That's what the Prime Minister should be saying. Not keep calm. That's nonsense. At this stage, that's nonsense. It has to be stopped. The question is, can it be stopped? Of course it can be stopped. Of course it can be stopped. It can be stopped if our leaders show leadership. You realize when these things happen, some of the leaders in the government who pretend to be progressive remain eerily quiet. They don't say anything. At least if they came out and said, we do not condone this. This is unacceptable. At least it shows leadership. So as far as I'm concerned, this state is developing as it is. This situation between Christians and Muslims, between the races, is actually a situation that is condoned by the leadership. That's my summary. That's my inference. And I draw that inference because, as far as I'm concerned, if you have the power to stop it and you do not, then you are condoning it. That's how I read the situation. Now, of course, it can be kangkong, it can be anything. Frankly, it was just an excuse as far as I was concerned. I did think that what it showed was what a brilliant sense of humor Malaysians have. The kind of things that they came up with after the kangkong incident was hilarious. It's brilliant, it's genius. And in fact, all over the world, leaders face this. And they have a sense of humor, all right? They ignore it generally. Here we're a bit more sensitive, clearly. I didn't agree with what Kailun did simply because I thought it was not in very good taste. But it was harmless. To me, it wasn't something that warranted the kind of response that he got. But what concerns me is these groups are emboldened. They are emboldened because they know they are beyond the law. Nobody's going to touch them. They can say anything they want. They can do anything they want. Nobody touches them. That is what I'm complaining about. And that is something created by the leadership in this country. I'm sorry, I don't see it any other way. Because if you bring the full force of the law to bear against them, it will stop. I can guarantee you it will stop. And that's what should be happening. Why are we saying, hey, why isn't action being taken? And by the way, I think Kailun was hauled in for questioning, am I right? I think he was. Why? Fine, haul him in for questioning. For criminal defamation. What about those who responded to him in that, in that awful manner? What about those who did unspeakable things outside Lim Guaning's house? I can't even repeat what they did. It was awful. Here they're talking about, oh, how can you, be rude to the Prime Minister? Well, how can you be rude to the Chief Minister? Actually, how can you be rude to anyone in that fashion? Now, Kailun, yes, we can criticize him. I expect higher standards from leaders. That's me. I expect a certain amount of decorum and a certain way of carrying yourself. That's what I expect from leaders. I expect it from all leaders. I expect everyone to behave in that manner. So, for me, as I say, if it wasn't Kangkong or Kailun or whatever, it would have been something else. And and here I defer to Saudara Lim Kit Siang, who's far more experienced statesman, far more experienced in all this, that we are really pushing the boundaries here. I'm not sure about May 13, I don't feel that yet. I don't feel that tension. Perhaps Penang has cause to be concerned, but I agree with him that this has to stop. Because you don't know how far they're going to push that envelope. You don't know how far they're going to push those boundaries. You don't know where this is going to take us. And at the end of the day, it's also about respecting each other. Don't you think it's time we told them they have to stop this, because really it does not show respect to the other rakyat of this country. They are disrespectful to all the rest of us, right-thinking Malaysians, when they behave in that awful, abhorrent fashion. So that is why we need to speak up. We have to say, we find it distasteful, stop it. If the government is not going to do it, then we have to voice our concerns. And we have to say in the strongest terms that we will not tolerate, we do not like this in the slightest. And I suppose really what we can do is we need to tell the Prime Minister that. More importantly, we need to tell our leaders that. Speak up. If you don't speak up, you're like them. That's how I see it. You don't speak up against it, you condone it. You don't speak up against it, as far as I'm concerned, you're part of it. And that's how I'm going to read the situation. If you don't speak up against it, you don't do something about it, that means you are encouraging it. And of course they'll be encouraged. As I say, they're emboldened. Nothing happens to them when they do the most unspeakable things. Things that really offend our sense of decency. And that's one thing I've realized after being in Bersih, is how decent ordinary Malaysians are, how decent Malaysians are. When that dance took place outside my house, the number of people who came to visit me after that, who sent me flowers, my house was full of flowers. People came, church groups came, they prayed with me, they sang with me, all religions. They came in solidarity. And then I realized that really, when they do things like this, they are offending the decent Malaysians. And decent Malaysians will not keep quiet for very long. And what we should be doing is demanding action from our leadership. That's what we should be doing. And we have to say that, and actually we should point out each and every single one of the leaders who are responsible. You see, the way I see this situation, a little bit, and I know there's a Malay, you chubik the baby, you know, you pinch the baby, you run away, it's crying, and then you come and say, oh, don't cry. But who created the problem? Who created the problem? You create the problem when you don't stop it the first time it happens. The second time it happens. The third time it happens. Can you remember how many times this has happened? What happened in the church? I was horrified. Molotov cocktail. The banner deliberately put up to make it look as if the Catholics were taking that stand. All that's really trying to incite. And I can see those on the net saying, we know who this is. Actually, we do. We know who's doing this, who's creating. It is really an evil intention to create a problem. But how many people out there will say that? I think most people would say that. But if they keep doing this over and over again, you know, that awful poster that Kit Siang you put up just now, you know, if they keep repeating that over and over again, can it push anyone over the edge? It might. And that's what Saudara Lim Kit Siang is talking about. We need to stop it before it gets to that stage. We cannot take things for granted. And I think, again, as I say, my solution is we should really be pushing our leadership. And I think another example is the burning of the effigy of Father Lawrence. It's happened to me, they've done it to me. Burning a picture, you know. How offensive is that? To burn someone's effigy, and yet nothing is done to those people. Can they be identified? Can they? Of course they can. And yet nothing is done to them. That, to me, really tells the true story. Not that they can't take action, they can, because they have. It's they won't take action. That's the problem I think we are facing. It is a total lack of leadership. I've always said it, there has been a lack of leadership on religious issues. It is actually farmed out to certain groups who then set the agenda for the country. Why should it be? Why do we have a government? And I would very much like to have a government who governs. Very much so. You know why? I want to get on with my work. I want to carry on with what I'm doing. I want to look after my family. I want to bring up my children. I want a government that looks after all that. I don't want to be watching what the government is doing, looking to see whether it's doing its job. That's not our job. So what are we asking for? We are asking for good governance. That is your right. That is our right as the Rakyat. That's what we're asking for. And I think what Kit Siang is trying to say is, don't take it for granted that this may not develop further. I think that's the point. Because I think in the last 1 month, how many incidents have we had? We've had the burning of the effigy, we've had the Molotov cocktail, we've had the banner, we've had this reaction to Kailun, etc., etc. So that's 4 already. And we're not even finished the first month of 2014. Is that acceptable to us? Of course, I do wonder why it's only happening in Penang and Selangor. I have a question mark about that. I do wonder, you know, why it's not, you know, raising its ugly head anywhere else, quite the way it's happening in Penang and Selangor. So I think we should speak up. I think this dialogue is good. I think you should ask questions, and see, and perhaps come to some kind of a consensus, as Kit Siang said, as to how we are going to move forward. Because Malaysians, as I say, I've seen the best of Malaysians. I have seen the best of Malaysians, and there's so many of us. There's so many of Malaysians who are decent, who want what is best for the country, peace-loving. 200,000 over per se people can gather peacefully. So that's what we are. Our identity is not what is being played out in these instances of aggression. That's not what defines us. What defines us as Malaysians is really our disgust for those sort of acts. Our hope that we can live happily in unity. That's what defines us. What defines us is the kind of Malaysia that we should build. We know what we want, but it takes work. We need to do something about it. And we need to hold our leaders to account. And I think that really is one of the most important messages I would say. And recently, actually, there's another incident. You know, you've heard of Lawyer Buruk, right? Lord Bobo wrote an opinion piece about the Constitution and etc., etc. And they go to town and say that they also should be investigated. So every time, so this is lawyers giving an opinion on the law. Suddenly, there's something wrong with that. Lawyers give opinion on the law every day. Alright? Okay, you may not agree with my opinion. Then give me yours. Tell me what you think. That's the way you respond. Not by coming out and saying, this is against, this is disrespectful, etc., etc. They should be investigated, and so on and so forth. And have you noticed, when these groups make police reports, they are investigated almost immediately. Have you noticed that? Maybe not all, many of them are immediately investigated. So it's not like the police don't know what they need to do. But when ordinary people who are threatened make reports, you don't get the same response. So there's something seriously wrong here. And for me, it comes from the top. It has to come from the top. If the top is powerless, then that's a problem with the top as well. So for me, actually, the buck stops there. Right there at the top, where they should set the tone. They should set the standards. And they should come out saying that there is zero tolerance for those who incite racism, who incite hatred, who incite racial problems. It is the leader that must come out and say that. That there will be zero tolerance. That's all he needs to say. There will be zero tolerance, and we will bring the full force of the law against anyone who tries to do that. 2 sentences. You can even make it into one. That's all that needs to be said by the Prime Minister of this country. And I urge the Prime Minister to do just that. Thank you.